And then Josh Mandel's America, where it's like, okay, like, yeah, fine. We're the theatrical performing country. Our top general almost quit the war because he had like he fell in love with a French woman and cried. All our guys cry every fucking day at their job of running World War II, but that's who we are. That's just what it is. We can do both. That's Josh Mandel is like, he's like, I take more medicine than anyone on earth. I love taking medicine. I'm the most
allergic man.
Yeah, I have 8 types of dehumidifiers and humidifiers. I like blow on a shofar every day. But I'm also a shit kicker because I'm also a true Ohioan. And that's beautiful. That shows how strong America is.
It's true. It really does assimilate all of your cultural neuroses and directs them towards the singular goal of bag securing, which those old world Euros just could not get in their heads, and they destroyed themselves.
We can do it.
I think this article will go a long way towards explicating these the unique factors of identity creation and capitalization. And, J.D. Vance is an interesting case study in this because he was always kind of pretending to be a shit kicker in the first place.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, I mean, he's from the Ohio suburbs.
There is Appalachian Ohio. Like, there's Eastern Ohio is near the Appalachian stuff. But Ohio, at the end of the day, is a giant suburb.
All right, let's dive into this article here. It says, let's start with the beard. J.D. Vance didn't used to have one. I mean, I don't know. Did he get married recently? Did I miss that?
I think he realized he just has one of those unfortunate cherubic faces.
Yeah.
Someone you're close to, someone you know may have one, and he may.
Shut the fuck up, Felix.
Me. I'm talking about me. Me. I have to do it. I have Vance's disease. Where even at my most pro Anna, I have the cherubic cheeks of the old world.
A round face, sort of at a certain point, a certain age needs something.
If I shaved right now, I would be beaten to death, and I'd deserve it.
It says, the Vance, who in 2016 achieved incandescent literary fame with his memoir Hillbilly Elegy, was all baby fat and rounded edges.
Yeah.
The Vance I'm watching now from the back of a coffee shop in the depressed steel town of Steubenville, Ohio, has covered up his softer side. And the headline image that goes with this thing is like it's illustrated, and it's like an oil style painting of the old cherubic J.D. Vance, and then it's like the sheet is torn, and there's like the angrier bearded J.D. Vance behind it. And I gotta say, both of them look exactly the same.
Yeah, I mean, it's
all
same,
soft edges. It's all
the same Francis Buxton ass little chubster, but with some fucking some barbershop trimmings stuck to his face.
Yeah, he really thought he did something with a beard, and it's like, no,
like Ted Cruz, another guy doing the exact same thing.
It's they were going for like the Uncle Phil. They were like, I'm gonna be like I'm big, but I'm alpha, and it's like, no, you got corned.
Yeah,
they corned you out.
You're corned.
They corned you out, slime.
I guess. In small format events like this one, addressing a couple dozen primary voters, he spends about 15 minutes attacking corporate and governmental elites for failing the country, then answers questions and mingles for maybe another 45 minutes. Vance, 37, is comfortable in the folksy idiom of GOP campaigning, e.g., she loved the Lord, she loved the F word, that's what Mal was.
Shut up.
It doesn't say what F word, though.
Yeah.
She called me the F word all the time.
That's Glenn Close, right? From,
Glenn Close.
Elegy.
Yeah,
the lady with her brilliant good Terminator, bad Terminator, neutral Terminator concept.
I know we did have a whole episode about it, but that was like my favorite part in Hillbilly Elegy is when he's with Mama and she's just like, she's doing the lines from T2 where she's like, I need your clothes, your motorcycle, give them to me. And J.D. Vance is like, Mama, turn this off. I want to watch C-SPAN. That's when she used the F word. That's when she loved using the F word. Goes, but he tends to gloss over his famously traumatic childhood. immortalized on screen in Ron Howard's 2020 film adaptation of his book. In Steubenville, he paces the room with a big gulp-sized foam cup in his hand. Well, no, now we're going back to the COVID treatment we were talking about earlier.
Yeah.
An everyman that touches an everyman touch that accentuates his new aesthetic.
Is he pretending to be a soda head?
He's trying to convince these rubes that there's full strength soda in that cup.
He's never a full strength soda has not touched his lips since he was a child.
That is yerba mate.
Yeah, he's drinking hibiscus soda with Peter Thiel. No one believes you. Name 5 variants of Mountain Dew right now, not including Diet and Zero. Like, fuck off. You can't. Josh Mandel, I believe I could talk to him about sodas for like hours.
Absolutely.
I think he knows all the stuff.
Josh Mandel drinks out of a hummingbird feeder.
Yeah. Yeah. You are not a soda head, JD. Like, fuck you.
He goes, I'm not the only one thinking about JD Vance's beard. I'm thinking about it too. But I mean, come on, he has at least 2 kids with this beard. Come on. Recently, I asked one of his law school friends to tell me about his personality. He's lovely, the friend said, describing Vance's smile and laugh. Then he paused. He wanted to talk about Vance's facial hair. Even as a slightly older law student, Vance had served 4 years in the Marines before enrolling at Ohio State as an undergraduate. He came across as guileless, boyish, no longer. He looks different, the friend said. He's going for a kind of severe masculinism thing. He looks
Is it
like
working?
He looks like, and he goes, he looks like Donald Trump Jr.
Another guy who's
severe
not trying hard at all. Another symbol of effortless masculinity.
If you put Gavin Newsom and Don Jr. in a row, it's like, okay.
Kimberly Guilfoyle has.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But like, just ask anyone, like, who's more alpha?
Yeah. Not a
And
question.
it's like,
No,
yeah, it's the guy. It's the guy who spends $5,000 a month on skincare. I'm sorry,
Don Jr. He's got no chin.
Yeah, well, and it's just like, I don't know. Alpha's in the soul, and like Gavin may just slurp down seafoam and like buy Korean face masks and shit. But it's just like you see it in his heart. You're like, that's
the thing. It comes down to sincerity.
Mm-hmm.
Gruesome Gavin is a sincere coastal bug creature. And he is at peace with it. And Mandel has turned himself through just sheer will and alchemy into a soda head, Ohio headphone dipshit.
Yeah.
Fucking JD Vance has been trying to be something he hasn't been his entire life. That's all he can do. He's a fraud.
JD Vance is like he's like Matt Damon in The Departed if he died instantly his first undercover mission. If he wasn't good at it at all.
Wait, Leo was the undercover guy.
Whatever. You know, like I think that's kind of the point of the movie, that they could be the same guy.
You're right.
Yeah. They're very similar.
Defeated once again.
Yeah.
Toward the end of our conversation, which was mostly about the way the culture shock of Yale Law School informed Vance's politics, I asked the friend if he wanted to discuss anything else. He returned to the beard. That's honestly occupied an outsized amount of my attention, he said. The beard isn't a bad symbol for Vance's U.S. Senate campaign, or at least for how that campaign is being received. Discourse around the race centers mostly on the idea that Vance is a changed or fraudulent person. 5 years ago, Vance was eloquently decoding Donald Trump supporters for liberal elites while lamenting the rise of Trump himself. Vance, whose mother is a recovering heroin user, compared Trump to an opioid, calling him an easy escape from the pain. Now, since announcing his run, he's reversed himself on Trump and adopted a bellicose persona at odds with the sensitive, bookish JD of his memoir. On Veterans Day, 48 hours after the Steubenville event, Vance tweeted that LeBron James of Akron, Ohio, is one of the most vile public figures in our country.
I hate you, traitor.
He tweeted that LaFraud only has Mickey Mouse rings.
Yeah, it's like Mandel probably has so many stupid nicknames for LeBron, and JD Vance had to hire a team of 20 people to like find ones like lay bisexual that aren't even used that often. Come on now. JD Vance didn't just like decode Trump and like Trump supporters. His book was literally saying his entire presence until last year was No, they support Trump because they're bad.
Yes.
Yeah.
You shouldn't empathize with them.
Yep.
They're bad people.
They have
not only
bad
that-
character. They deserve nothing but scorn. That's why he was so beloved by liberal elites.
Of
and
course,
made into a
because
fucking Hollywood movie.
Oh, exactly. Like because he told liberal elites what they've all been longing to hear, which is like, oh, I'm smart enough that I can have my own side in politics chastised by this real authentic person.
Which,
who's
by
also
the
gone to
way-
Yale Law School. But his solution was that like, don't feel bad for any poor person because any intervention by the state that you advocate to provide them money, health care, a decent quality of living, they'll only ruin it by spending it on soda and heroin.
Yep.
So you're
and of
better
course,
off
the
not
funny thing
trying.
is this is exactly what conservatives have been gobbling up for a generation about black people, and liberals have been horrified by it. But because this is people they imagine as the obstacles to progress, the reactionary white hillbillies, that they'll accept the exact same explanation from Vance.
Yeah, and if you're talking about like anyone, like the cultural locus for either side, whether it's like Vance saying that like it's poor hillbillies' fault that they're like this, and like of course they support Donald Trump, they're bad, he's bad, or like conservative racism towards black people. In either event, you are talking about like specific groups of specific populations that aren't voting because they're poor.
Yes.
These are poor people who don't fucking vote. He's saying that people who live in like thatched huts in the valley are voting for Trump. No, they like haven't voted ever.
Yeah. But wealthy liberals don't want to feel anything for really anybody. They feel obligated to feel bad for poor minorities. But poor white people, in their mind, have it coming because, hey, why didn't you succeed? I don't have any kind of architecture to excuse your failure the way I do for minorities. So at the end of the day, I have nothing but contempt for you. Please give me an excuse for my contempt. And he was right there to give it to them. It's so funny watching him now try to pretend that he cares about the opiate epidemic and how like Washington and liberals don't care about all the people dying in the heartland when he was up until a minute ago saying, yeah, that's their problem. That's their fault. They stopped going to church. They have it coming.
Yeah.
And the climax of the movie, and I'm assuming his book, is him flushing his mom's works down the toilet and then just being like, time to go cold turkey. Time for some real fucking, time to face the music. And it's just like, good luck killing your mom, dude. Like,
yeah. Oh my God.
And he goes,
I would be off perks every day if that was my son.
And his
Has he
big,
ever thought about that? Maybe it's his fault.
his big, the big third act, moment of truth is when he has to decide whether to stay with his mom who's withdrawing or go to his fucking like internship interview, and he just drives to fucking Princeton, and that's like his heroic decision. Like that is the decision of the PMC bug creatures who stab their own families in the back to get ahead that you are now pretending to care about. It's astounding watching him try to fucking pull this off.
Yeah, he is. It's not just that he's a bug man. It's not just like, oh, you're a teal venture capitalist. It's like you are the bug.
Yes,
you literally brag about turning your back on your family.
Yeah,
and you rose to fame saying, kill all of these people. Mm-hmm. They should die because I think they voted the wrong way, even if they didn't vote. Fuck them.
Yeah.
Going on in the article, it says here, I felt I felt him straining to deliver his talking points in an angry register. It wasn't just that steel jobs had been offshored; they were outsourced by idiots in Washington to countries that hate us. Commentary about Vance from Never Trumpers and liberals tends to strike a note of personal chagrin about his evolving image. Pundit Mona Charan, writing about Vance as if he had died, called him an extremely bright and insightful man who could have been a fresh voice for a fundamentally conservative view of the world. Frank Bruni of the New York Times predicted that a Vance tweet about Alec Baldwin's recent accidental shooting incident would endure as one of the boldest markers of his dissent. In Ohio, meanwhile, the pressure on Vance runs entirely in the opposite direction. Every campaign stop he makes, he patiently tries to explain away his past never-Trumpism, which has been exhumed in the form of deleted tweets and Charlie Rose clips. An attack ad playing his anti-Trump sound bites ends with a woman saying, "That's the real J.D. Vance." Vance's friends split the difference. They say he's the same guy, but he's been radicalized. I think he's gotten a lot more bitter and cynical. Appropriately, conservative blogger Rod Dreher told me, dude, if you're friends with Rod Dreher, like you are a weirdo, like cultural elite.
Yeah,
you're not a soda head if you're friends with Rod.
Yeah, you're making bouillabaisse.
Fuck no. Rod does not fuck with soda. You are in the backseat of a Duesenberg with Rod and like some strapping 29-year-old policy wonk buck in Budapest who's crying to you about Blue's Clues.
He goes, to Dreher, the change in tone is justified by the course of American politics over the past 5 years. Trump remained Trump, but the left went berserk, he wrote in a post defending Vance. Still, Dreher, who attended Vance's 2019 baptism into the Catholic Church. I mean, okay, he has a boutique religious conversion that every other extremely online fucking like just this neurotic shithead has done the same exact fucking thing. As you said, Felix, you fell off the porch that you've never left in childhood into fucking the Roman Catholic Church at the age of 38 years old.
Yeah, I always think about there's a rapper that people make fun of for joining the Bloods when he was 23, and that's our guy here.
He goes, what do his Appalachian relatives think of him being a member of the Roman Catholic Church, the literal whore of Babylon?
I mean, yeah, no, it's like. He's a computer guy.
Yeah.
He met Rod on the computer, and Rod was like, "Do you want to like go to this Gentile bar mitzvah?" And he was like, "Yeah, yeah, I do. Sounds great."
He goes, but Rod also worries about the toll campaigning is taking on his friend. Shit posting has become the signature style of young radicals on the right.
Yeah, based shit posting. Let's go, dude. Let's meme it.
This is particularly a hazard, I think, for Christians. He told me. The surface level changes are indeed striking. Yet the more I watched him, the more it seemed to me that the emerging canon of what happened to J.D. Vance commentary was missing the point. Vance's new political identity isn't so much of a facade or a reversal as an expression of an alienated worldview that is, in fact, consistent with his life story. And now there's an ideological home for that worldview. Vance has become one of the leading political avatars of an emergent populist intellectual persuasion that tacks right on culture and left on economics. I would like to know where is JD Vance tacking left on the economy or labor or any the market,
same way all these guys do, with vague references to the elites and stuff, and then of course specific arguments to break up big tech because they're censoring Mima's posts and she can't send memes about Brandon memes to her granddaughter. That's it. And also, it's all online. It is an internet culture of anxious weirdos who want to be Republicans, but just feel their tummy feels bad about being Republicans because of all the shit that they absorbed, all the ambient radiation they absorbed being strivers and college graduates, and they're trying to purge it. But nobody else gives a shit. It is their neurotic nervous breakdown. Nobody else cares.
It says, known as national conservatism or sometimes post-liberalism, it is, in broad strokes, heavily Catholic, definitely anti-woke, skeptical of big business, nationalist about trade and borders, and flirty with Hungarian Prime Minister Viktor Orban. In Congress,
sucking that Orban off. Just sonking him off.
In Congress, its presence is minuscule, represented chiefly by Senators Josh Hallway and Marco Rubio.
Oh yeah, true national conservative there.
I remember
Wait, is he against global free trade now?
Honestly, I think they're right. They're saying that this thing is just that Walmart conservatives bullshit that like Douthit and Raheem Salam were into, and that they kind of got their hooks into Rubio when he was like vaguely talking about like a child allowance, but with memes. It's just the next step of that with epic memes. That's it.
Yeah, it's getting mad. It's getting mad at woke capital and being like, someone should make unwoke capital.
Yes,
that's it.
And it has no meaningful purchase with any real stakeholders. It has no legislative agenda that has any chance of going anywhere. It's just vague, the most vague gestures that are only even picked up by the hyper politically conscious freaks on the internet.
No, it's literally like it's conservative Warrenism to the T.
Yes.
It's all culture.
Absolutely.
It's all culture. It's all culture, and then they'll say one thing about antitrust, and they'll be like, the smart new conservatism.
Yeah.
Marco Rubio's child allowance bill, by the way, it was like $150 a month. Oh, watch out there, big spender.
Vance's Senate race is an almost perfect test of these ideas because the frontrunner in the Republican primary, former state treasurer and Tea Party product Josh Mandel, who according to recent polling leads Vance by 6 points, is the candidate of traditional conservative tax cutters. To those watching the Vance-Mandel slugfest from afar, it may just look like two candidates trying to outflank each other on the right, but the fissures between them run deep. The Club for Growth, known for its free market zealotry, is supporting Mandel and has spent roughly $1.5 million on anti-Vance attack ads. One TV spot highlights a tweet in which Vance says he loved at Mitt Romney's anti-Trump screed. The narrator does not linger on the rest of the message, which reads, "Too bad party will do everything except admit that supply-side tax cuts do nothing for its voters." Before Vance deleted his old anti-Trump tweets, he tended to attack Trump for abandoning his stated commitment to economic populism. It goes going on here. It says, a couple of weeks after I saw him in Steubenville, Vance called me from the road on his way to an event in Toledo. I asked about his sudden estrangement from polite society. The price of being beloved by the establishment is you don't say anything interesting, he told me. And if you don't say anything interesting, you're not going to be a useful part of solving any of the problems in this country. I like that what he was saying that was interesting earlier is the fraud is the biggest, most evil person in American culture today.
Yeah, no, there's a conservative guy on Twitter known as the Muff Sniffer who says the same interesting things as J.D. Vance, but with swag. He's a 70-year-old man who's always posting like full pussy shots from like Penthouse.
What Vance is saying now may or may not prove appealing to voters, but it certainly meets the test of being interesting. Wrong. Okay, yeah. This is what he says. Dominant elite society is boring. It is completely unreflective, and it is increasingly wrong, he told me. In other words, I kind of had to make a choice.
So, like, the reflexive opposite, on the other hand, is really interesting. By definition, it is as boring as the reflexive thing you're responding to. It cannot be interesting if the thing you're responding to isn't interesting.
Do you remember when he said he was like, if you donate $10,000 to this super PAC, you could have dinner with me and Peter Thiel.
Yep.
Dude, and Mandel owned him. He was like, if you give me $5, I'll hang out at Chick-fil-A parking lot.
Yeah,
that was awesome. That was awesome.
Bodied. Yeah. Jumping ahead here. It says, in November, Vance delivered the closing speech at the second annual National Conservatism Conference held at a Hilton in Orlando near SeaWorld. They should have just held it at SeaWorld. SeaWorld's the perfect embodiment of national conservatism.
Yeah, no, completely cruel, needless, shitty place no one likes.
I'm feeding LeBron. I'm feeding LaFraud to Tillicum.
They could have effigies of LeBron that they throw to the whales.
His keynote address was called "Universities Are the Enemy." I mean, like, this guy spent more time in college than like.
Yeah, JD, you love college. You love school. You love school. You like spent more time at school than anyone I know. You served in the Marines so you could go to school for free. That's how much you love school.
Every one of his like too clever by half, thread the needle, national conservative troll posts that he creates specifically to trigger online liberals and leftists, and have, of course, with no consideration of anybody who actually might vote in his election cares about. He is doing that within his mind, some invisible college professor over his shoulder, and he's just imagining the A he's going to get for how clever he was.
Yeah,
he's the most college broken person on earth.
He's never stopped doing homework ever in his fucking life. Mandel, like, look, if Mandel is like totally lying, he's not doing it from a homework perspective. He's like a classic Jewish performer.
Mm-hmm.
He's in the tradition of Al Jolson.
Yes. Very good.
He goes here. The left, he argued, pushed for lax border control while average Americans were the ones overdosing on fentanyl from Mexico. Grocery and gas.
They have it coming because they have weak morals, and they listen to hip hop.
Yeah, do you think that's good or bad, JD?
Grocery and gas bills were skyrocketing, but Janet Yellen escaped blame for inflation because she is the first female Treasury Secretary. So long as we're trailblazing on diversity, equity, and inclusion, Vance complained, it doesn't matter if normal people get screwed. After the speech, Dreher says, Vance texted him, when you realize that culture war is class warfare, everything becomes easy. Yeah, I bet it does.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It simplifies things. Oh, I can just talk bullshit forever, and I never actually have to do anything. Wonderful.
JD announces that if he was president, he would let a white child pick his Secretary of Education.
Cis white child will lead the way.
It says national conservatism is the intellectual version of Trumpism, committed to the populist reorienting of the GOP.
And that is a contradiction in terms, by the way. That Trumpism cannot be intellectualized. The whole point of it is that it annihilates and negates intellectualism.
Yeah,
that's the appeal of it.
Yeah, that it's whatever he wants it to be.
Yes. There's no teacher. There's no professor over your shoulder. You just get to do what you want. That is the dream. Intellectualizing it is the opposite of that.
Vance's immersion in this universe can be traced to his close relationship with the billionaire venture capitalist Peter Thiel.
Another man of the people.
Yeah.
Literally, he's made up of the people whose blood he has stolen.
A NatCon eminence who delivered the conference's opening speech and has plunked $10 million into a pro-Vance super PAC. Vance met Thiel about a decade ago after he gave a lecture at Yale that spoke to the dissatisfaction Vance felt with Ivy League life. Thiel's reputation on the left has become a word salad of villainous associations, from the demise of Gawker to the rise of surveillance capitalism.
Oh, Gawker, I bet the voters love that, you fucking idiot. Fucking Ohio Republican primary voters. I hated Gawker. I hated Gawker Stalker. I hated how they treated celebrities. I hate Nick Denton. I can't stop thinking about him. You're a fucking moron.
He says, but before he was associated with politics, he was largely known as a critic of technological stagnation, captured by his famous line, "We wanted flying cars, instead we got 140 characters." I mean, if that's true, like Peter Thiel, we all thought we'd have flying cars when we were a kid. Do you know how bad a fucking idea flying cars would be?
Yeah,
like, I don't want flying cars. I don't even want self-driving cars. Flying cars would be like, imagine all the problems of deadly auto crashes, but 10,000 feet in the air.
I think it's a good idea because, like, what if you're looking at your phone and you think you're going to crash into someone? It used to be you could only go right or left. Now you can go up or down.
Yeah, it's classic bad infinity stuff. Like, the future is just the present with more, not what you want. No transformation.
I'm just skipping ahead a little bit. If you look for it, elements of Vance's current critique were in Hillbilly Elegy too. People like his grandfather, who moved to Southwest Ohio to work in the then bustling Armco steel plant, strengthened the local social fabric as producers. A generation later, with jobs disappearing, his mom and neighbors were not just isolated and angry, but also, he wrote, consumerist. Just before the pandemic, Vance and Giovanni, I'm skipping ahead, who the fuck, I don't care, this guys, recorded an episode of a podcast together. Giovanni asked whether Vance's nationalist vision could devolve into a more jingoistic or bigoted form. Vance acknowledged the risk, but countered that a healthy nationalism was an antidote to right-wing grievance politics. With this hyper-atomized approach, what this hyper-atomized approach to living has done is it's denied people a sense of solidarity, he said. I think some people go and find it in their racial identity or ethnic identity, and I think that's especially dangerous. But what does a national conservative vision look like in a primary campaign that doubles as an audition for Trump's endorsement? The answer often has been Vance's own coarse brand of identity politics. In July, he gave a sneering speech about the childless left, including Representative Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez and Transportation Secretary Pete Buttigieg, whose twins were delivered about a month later. On Twitter, he called the New York Times columnist Paul Krugman one of the many weird cat ladies with too much power in this country. Like, this is so funny to be like this is his version of bullying people. He's like, Paul Krugman's a cat lady.
Yeah, you suck
his
JD.
grandmother is better at roasting people than him. What the fuck?
Call him a bad Terminator.
Yeah. Man, JD, you suck. You are not good at this shit. Josh Mandel, when he gets home, he may panic. he may run and turn on every humidifier in his house in winter. He's like, oh my God, I was outside so long with no humidifier. I'm gonna chap. But I believe him. He's good at this. Oh, you're not, JD. You suck.
Vance, I'm just skipping ahead to the end here. It says Vance's media strategy seems to be that by playing Don Jr. on the internet, he can push for more substantive populism in real life.
Yeah, aim high.
The success of that tactic may depend on how far removed he truly seems from the Brookings Institution to Netflix pipeline he was riding until recently.
Ooh, damn. Oh, that was fucking cold.
I guess that's here. In November, Vance tweeted an invitation to you already covered that. He said, Mandel replied with a picture of himself outside of Denny's. He wrote, for $10.80, anyone can join me eating fries off the hood of a car from a gas station at Denny's at midnight.
Damn.
In late November, the Ohio Republican Party held a very awkward candidate forum at an evangelical church near Middletown. None of the 7 candidates were allowed to rebut one another. The statements from Vance's opponents were a procession of uninspired to alarming GOP tropes. Party fixture Janet Timken pledged to fight back against the socialists. Mandel thundered that the election had been stolen and that America was not a country for atheism or Muslim values. Mandel, who is Jewish, is for Judeo-Christian values. Vance, seated on the edge of the... Vance, seated on the edge of the stage, tried to move the conversation onto his turf. Censorship, opioids. Not just the fault of the Democrats, but of multinational corporations. Fielding a question about fiscal sanity, he pivoted away from the national debt and gave an answer about buying American-made instead of Chinese-made goods. Blaming big business certainly distinguished him from his opponents, but it did not appear to thrill the diehards in the pews. Eventually, however, Vance landed on something that got the audience going. He called for Republicans to shut down the government until Biden ended his vaccine mandate for federal workers. A vaccine mandate is exactly the sort of the idea that a common good national conservative like Vance should support. Yet a few days after the forum, I got a text message from his campaign raising money off the line. So there we go. That's JD Vance and his identity play. The way that we can play with identity for fun and profit.
Well, good luck,
We'll see how he does. We'll see how
good luck, JD. Good luck, Josh. Good luck, all of you.
Yeah, like either way, it's there. Whoever wins is gonna lose. We're all gonna lose. It's Alien versus Predator. But once again, you have to have just a slight preference for skill, a slight preference to see someone rewarded for doing something well, even if it's an evil thing. As opposed to just being a pathetic round fraud.
And they're all going to vote the same way. JD Vance would not do anything special
they'll be the
in
same
Congress.
guy.
No,
Yeah,
same guy.
Matter.
Josh he's trying hard. He's trying hard and he's succeeding.
Yeah.
You know, that's all you could really cheer for.
Mm-hmm.
And no beard.
No beard.
Yes.
No beard. There we go. Anything else today, gentlemen?
I think we're good.
I think we're
good.
I think we're all good. Yeah. All right. Well, yeah. All right, let's run down the list here. Chapo live shows, our tour of the South. February 24th, we will be in Charlotte, North Carolina at the Underground. February 27th, we will be in Atlanta, Georgia at the Buckhead Theater. March 3rd, we will be in Nashville, Tennessee at the Basement East. On March 18th, we will be in Dallas, Texas at the Echo Lounge and Music Hall. On March 22nd, we will be in Houston, Texas at the White Oak Music Hall. And then March 24th, we will be in New Orleans at the LA Civic Theater. At some point in between there, we will also be doing a show in Austin. Venue to be determined. And to purchase tickets for any of these live shows, go to chapotraphouse.com/live. Come out. We'd love to see you.
Beautiful Ohio, in dreams again I see